Hey there, and welcome back to Discover What You Were Born to Do. I am so glad you're here. This week, we begin a new section. For the next 4 weeks, we'll address the topic of how to decide, or it could be titled, How to Decide for Yourself. Going against the grain and choosing your own path has a unique set of skills. I want you to master the skills and mindsets you need to make decisions for yourself. Having a reliable set of decision making tools will not only help you find work that really feels meaningful and fulfilling, but it will help you stay true to yourself through the course of your career. It will also help you understand how to take the reins of your entire life. One reason this is important is because choosing your own unique career path isn't a one time event. You'll continually be making decisions and choices about what jobs you take, if you should accept promotions, if you should open a business, start a new product line, even when and if you want to retire. So, having a solid decision making framework will help you navigate outside pressures to conform, and it will serve you for a long time to come. Before we get into it, let's take a look at our roadmap, review what we've done so far, and where we're going. Remember, to find work that matters to you, you need to know 3 things. The first is who you are. The second is how to make decisions that are aligned with who you are. And the third is what you want. And here's where we are on the roadmap. This week, we'll specifically talk about stepping into a role of personal leadership. Next week, week 6, we'll talk about how to use your inborn navigational system, your internal GPS that's designed to help you make decisions. In week 7, we'll talk about how to determine which part of your mind is driving your decisions, you or your instincts. And similarly, in week 8, we'll talk about what's driving your decisions, you or your social programming. Just like I did in the first 4 weeks, I want to check in with your survival brain. The farther along we go in the work, the more likely you are to feel the effects of your primal mind resisting change and working double time to keep you stuck in your current cycle. One way we tend to deal with the discomfort of change is to ignore it or to distract ourselves. As humans, we are hardwired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Change, even when it's good, is still painful because part of our mind associates familiarity with safety. And our aversion to pain isn't because we're slothful or weak-willed, but because too much pain can cause overwhelm on our nervous system and result in trauma. Avoiding pain is a safety mechanism built in to protect us, much like a circuit breaker. To avoid pain, we might numb our discomfort by staying busy, drinking too much, over-exercising, mindlessly scrolling social media, getting involved in drama that isn't ours, or overspending. Our brains will use any method available to help us stay regulated, and that's actually a good thing. I take a strong viewpoint that all coping behaviors are there for a reason and they are trying to protect us, even if society deems it as bad or unhealthy. I know this can be a radical stance for some, but the reason I take this approach is because if we shame our minds and bodies for coping, instead of respecting their efforts to keep us safe, we can break down completely. Our bodies are designed to do whatever it takes to keep us alive on this planet, whether we agree with the methods or not. So I invite you to resist the urge to demonize your coping behaviors and instead use them as signals that something needs attention. If you notice yourself numbing out, ask yourself why. What is underneath that need to distract yourself, and can you address the root problem? One way to help your nervous system regulate is with the breathing exercise that we've been practicing. Today, during the breathing exercise, I want you to keep your eyes open if you've been closing them in the past. The reason is this particular exercise is designed to be used in the midst of a challenging moment, so it's helpful to start practicing it with your eyes open just like they would be in real life. Let's begin. Wherever you are, with your eyes open, bring your awareness into your body. Take a couple of slow, deep breaths. Now gently even out your inhale and your exhale. Remember, this breathing pattern shouldn't be extreme. It should feel natural in your body. If you lose track of the breathing pattern, just gently come back to the task at hand and return to evening out your inhale and exhale. As your breath becomes even and as you're ready, elongate your exhale. Again, this isn't extreme, just a little bit longer than your inhale. This is the opposite of how we breathe when we're under attack and can help you come back into a regulated state. I'm going to hold you here for one more minute to practice, but please listen to your body and only stick with the pattern as long as it's comfortable for you. You'll hear some music in the background so you know I'm here, and at the end of 1 minute, I'll let you know. You can let go of the breathing pattern and come back into a regular breath. Now that you're in a relaxed and creative state, I want you to imagine an ideal workday. For the scenario today, you're at a point in your career where you're able to set your own schedule and you're in control of how you spend your time. As you awaken, notice if you woke up naturally or to an alarm. Notice how you spend the beginning of your day. How do you transition into your workday? While you're at work, notice how you split up what you need to do. How many breaks do you take, and what do you do during those breaks? Also, notice how long you spend working. And how do you determine when you're done working for the day? As you transition back into your personal life, how long does that take you, and what do you do to transition? Notice what you do with the rest of your day. And take note of how you know it's time to go to bed, and how long does it take you to transition into sleep. As you close your eyes to go to sleep, I want you to feel the appreciation about how you spent your day. I want you to feel the satisfaction of directing your time and energy in a way that brings out the best version of you. Great. You can come back into the present moment. Although real life physical experience has been shown to be the best way to learn and embody a concept, that isn't always possible to get. Mental practice, or imagining the experiences we want, allows us to play out and practice future scenarios. If this exercise works for you, this type of mental practice can not only help you get clarity on what elements you want in your career, but it can also help you memorize how that feels so it's easier to recognize in real life. Now that we have the building blocks of who you are in place, we can talk about the mindsets you need to develop in order to decide the path you want to take. The first mindset I suggest is to begin seeing yourself as the CEO of your career. And I want to be clear, if a ruthless, overpaid command and control style CEO is what comes to mind, I understand why, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an ethical, socially conscious, egalitarian, B Corp style collaborative leader, a CEO who is using their skills for good. If the title CEO is hard for you, you can pick whatever title works for you. My point is to begin seeing yourself as the leader, director, and head decision maker of your own career and life. This isn't usually a switch you flip in your head overnight. It takes time to understand and integrate. Even seasoned management professionals need time to adjust to the mindset of being a CEO. If you think about it, every new role we take requires us to embody a new mindset. It's true when you become an adult, an employee, a parent, or a supervisor. And it takes time to fully integrate that new way of thinking and new set of responsibilities. Over the next 4 weeks, I'll ask you to adopt this mindset, to take the reins and step into the driver's seat. From here on out, you get to be in charge and decide the career path you take. I'm also going to make the distinction between making career decisions that are really just doing what you're told by others and actually making a decision independently. There are thousands of people these days telling you how to act, what to wear, what to believe, what to watch, where to go to school, and what job you should have. Basically, people are telling you exactly how they want you to behave and who they need you to be. It's not uncommon to find yourself well into adulthood having just followed the rules society laid out for you. The problem is that doesn't usually lead you into a fulfilling career or life in general. In fact, one of the most common frustrations I hear from clients is they did exactly what they were told to do. They got the degree, the job, the promotion, the salary, the title, and they checked all the boxes of a good career, but they still aren't fulfilled and they hate their life. One reason this can happen is because standard job recommendations are designed to address the needs of other people. For instance, economists might forecast the need for more healthcare workers. Your family might want you to hold a prestigious position, or maybe you're expected to stay home and only have a supporting role. The problem with this lens is that it completely ignores you. It bypasses who you are and what you want out of life. I'm not saying you should completely disregard all traditional career advice or input from other people, but it shouldn't dictate your career decisions. Just because a career path worked for someone else or worked in other generations doesn't mean it's right for you, and that's okay. I'm also not saying that a traditional career path won't work for you. It very well may. What I'm advising you is to only take that path if it's what you want to do and it fits with your natural strengths, not because someone else thinks you should do it. You are the only one who can truly know what you want deep down. I know that can be frustrating to hear for some people, and if you aren't in a place where you can articulate what you want right now, that's okay and it's not uncommon. Most Western cultures don't teach people how to access and interpret their own inner guidance. Over the coming weeks, we will cover exactly that so you can feel confident in making decisions about what you want for yourself. As you consider assuming a leadership role, it's worth taking time to investigate the second mindset we'll discuss, your beliefs about what influences your results. In psychology, this is called your locus of control. Essentially, do internal or external factors have control over your outcomes? Some people describe the mindset as believing in self-determination or fate. And it's important to know that our locus of control isn't something that's all or nothing. An internal control isn't good and an external control isn't bad, and no one has absolute control over every aspect of their lives, even if they think they do. In fact, there can be unintentional negative consequences when we believe that we're completely self-made or in total control of our circumstances. This extreme ideology is the root of many problematic ideas such as bootstrapping, victim blaming, and other harmful forms of imagined superiority and judgment. The truth is, like many things, what we have control over in our lives exists on a continuum. We can't control the Earth's orbit, but as we gain self-awareness, we can start to control our reactions, mindsets, and our behaviors. There's no denying that real external barriers and systems of oppression exist in the workplace. But what's also true is that we have far more power and influence over our careers than we're led to believe. There's a reason we're taught that we're powerless and that we should hand over control to someone else. I want you to think back to the question you learned last week. Who benefits from you believing that you don't have power or control over your career? And what would change if you did have control? Now, you might not have authority over what your boss does, but you can make a plan to leave. You can't control how other people treat you, but you can learn to set standards for what's acceptable and enforce those boundaries as best you can. You can't control the repeated setbacks you face, but you can make a commitment to keep going through them and to not give up on your desires for a fulfilling career and life. The point of adopting the mindset of leader and CEO isn't to gloss over circumstances you don't control, but to put you in a position to take advantage of every opportunity that you can influence. If we believe nothing that we do matters, we stop looking for solutions and we stop making decisions. But when we believe we have some power to change our future, we set ourselves up to look for ways to achieve our goals and take whatever action we can that will help our dreams come true. The third mindset that will help you make the best independent decisions you can is to use an integrated decision-making method. Integrated simply means considering the whole picture. Many of us have experienced making career decisions that looked logical on paper, but ignored what we really wanted deep down, or following our hearts, but didn't account for the facts of life. The reason a lot of our decisions don't work is because we're not approaching them in a balanced and integrated way. For our purposes, this approach means you're factoring in all three parts of your strength: your logic and reason from your cognitive mind, your gut instinct from your instinctive mind, and your desires and values from your affective mind. This is the same model we used in the first 4 weeks, and in this model, one type of decision making isn't more important than another. They all have equal importance. For example, you need to figure out how much money you need to live on, but you also need to ensure that the work you do is in line with your natural strengths, and it also needs to be something you like doing. If one of these elements isn't accounted for, you'll likely end up in a job that pays well but that you hate, or a job that you love but doesn't cover your bills, or a job that you're good at but totally drains your energy. If you've ended up in jobs like this in the past, no, it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Honestly, it's the common advice we're given. We're told, get a good paying job, or follow your heart, or trust your gut. And all of this advice is accurate on a level, but none of them work by themselves. What integrated decision making does is take all of these perspectives into consideration, so you end up doing work that's natural to you, that you like doing, and that pays the bills. The fourth mindset I want to discuss will help you make decisions easier and with less stress. This mindset says you have a natural decision-making style that you should trust. In fact, there isn't one right way to make a decision regardless of what you've been told. There are many ways that people come to a good decision. One way to know what method works best for you is to look at your natural strengths, specifically your conative strengths that we covered in week 2. Your Kolbe A result can give you a clue into the most natural way for you to make a decision, and here's how. The highest number in your Kolbe report will reveal what you need in order to feel solid enough to make a decision and take action. This can explain a lot when you realize that not everyone has the same needs, and it's an important difference to respect in others and honor in yourself. If you can't get your instinctive decision-making needs met, you'll likely feel stuck or frustrated. Knowing how you're hardwired can help you make decisions faster and with more confidence. It can even help you make decisions with other people more effectively. So let's take a look at your Kolbe report and see what you need in order to make a decision and take action. If your highest Kolbe number is in Fact Finder, you will need a lot of detailed information in order to make a decision. You may need to do extensive research, read the fine print, or you may find yourself asking someone a lot of questions. If you're an initiating fact finder and you can't make a decision, ask yourself, what is the number one thing I need to know in order to decide? If you find yourself endlessly searching for more and more information, consider giving yourself a deadline. Allow yourself to research without judgment and then make a decision when your deadline arrives. If your highest number is in follow-through, you will need to know the plan or the system before you feel comfortable making a decision. If you feel stuck, you can ask yourself which steps you need to know in order to feel solid in making a decision. And if you're working with people that aren't giving you the steps you need, draft up a quick plan and ask them for feedback. This method can help them get organized and at the same time meet your needs for having a plan. If your highest number is in Quick Start, you need to know your options before you make a decision. You may also need to test things out and experiment before you commit to any one course of action. If you're feeling indecisive, make a list of all the options you can think of, no matter how ridiculous they seem, and then pare them down. If you find yourself endlessly looking for more and more options, give yourself a deadline. Allow yourself to experiment and explore all of the possibilities without judgment, and then choose a path when the deadline arrives. If your highest number is an implementer, you'll need to know about the quality, durability, and lasting value before you make a decision. If you feel stuck in this area, you can ask yourself, what are the concrete goals and how long does the solution need to last? You may also feel driven to get your hands on whatever you're working or meet with somebody in person before you make a decision. If that's possible, honor that need and make a plan to get together in person or at least over a video call. If you don't have any numbers above a 6 in your result, you're considered a facilitator. As a facilitator, you need to gain consensus before you decide. This can be a consensus of information or of people. And if you find yourself endlessly surveying people, give yourself a deadline. And if you're trying to reach a consensus that isn't likely to happen, ask yourself which aspects you need consensus about before you feel secure in making a decision. Mostly, know that feeling stuck or indecisive doesn't mean anything is wrong with you, regardless of your Kolbe numbers. It may simply mean that you don't have what you need in order to make a choice. I can't reiterate enough how fundamental your Kolbe result is to how you take action. Initiating fact finders need information. Initiating follow-throughs need a plan. Initiating quick starts must know their options. And initiating implementers need to know the tangible results, and facilitators need to gain consensus. When you allow yourself to decide in a way that's most natural to you, not only will making choices become easier and less stressful, but you'll tap into your natural decision-making power. The last mindset I want you to consider is the mindset of taking responsibility for your decisions. And more importantly, taking responsibility for the choices you make even when they go south. Here's why that's important. No matter how meticulous you try to be, you aren't going to make the right decision all the time. No one does and no one can. That's a myth. Even the most well-regarded decision makers make mistakes. And if you demand perfection from yourself, you risk going to one of two extremes. You'll either delude yourself that all of your decisions are perfect, or you'll be paralyzed and stuck in fear of making the wrong choice. This type of perfectionism also feeds self-doubt and erodes your confidence, which makes you even more vulnerable to external influences. The antidote to this all-or-nothing view is to decide that you're going to make the best decision you can and course correct as needed. Knowing that you will make a mistake may not be the most comfortable feeling, but neither is being paralyzed or handing over your power to someone else. It's better to decide to make imperfect decisions and adjust as you go. Something that can help you feel more confident is having a plan ready when, not if, a decision you make doesn't turn out as expected. I'll share with you the steps that I use, and you can feel free to use them as a template and adjust as needed. The first step is to allow yourself to feel the discomfort of making a mistake. The second step is to investigate the cause and the impact of the mistake. And the third step is to course correct and make the needed adjustments. No one makes perfect decisions all the time. You're simply doing the best you can with the information you have. Mistakes are normal. What sets you apart isn't perfection, it's owning your mistakes and fixing the problem. Let's go ahead and break down these 3 steps and make sure you have some practical ways to take action. The first step is allowing yourself to feel the discomfort of making a mistake, and it's a step our survival brain is hardwired to avoid simply because it's uncomfortable. Sometimes this is exacerbated because it feels like our emotions will consume us. But if we avoid this step, it can result in blaming others for our errors, making excuses, dismissing relevant feedback, or completely ignoring the issue altogether. So how do you turn into discomfort practically without feeling flooded or overwhelmed? One way is to decide how long you want to endure feeling the unpleasant emotions that come with making a mistake. I'll explain. Research tells us that raw emotion lasts for about 90 seconds in the body. Jill Bolte Taylor, a Harvard-trained neuroanatomist and author of My Stroke of Insight, says, it takes less than 90 seconds for one of these emotional programs to be triggered, search through our body, and then be completely flushed out of our bloodstream. She goes on to explain that if we continue to experience an emotion for longer than 90 seconds, it's because our minds continue to think about the event and re-trigger the emotion. So when discomfort arises, you have the opportunity to make a choice. Do you want to turn toward it, be present, and experience the discomfort for 90 seconds, or dance around it and feel that same discomfort for the next 20 years? Your instinctive mind might initially compel you to avoid it, but your cognitive mind and your logic knows that 90 seconds of discomfort is far better than 20 years of pain. When you're able to catch your reaction and choose the 90-second route, Dr. Taylor suggests watching a clock dial or some other mundane task to keep your mind from getting caught up in the drama while you allow the chemicals to flush out of your system. But anything you can do to keep from reactivating the story in your mind during those 90 seconds will help. If you want support with this, I have a recording that leads you through this 90-second release. I find it can be helpful to feel like another person is there with you, keeping track of the time so you can experience the waves of emotion without feeling alone. I also know we can't always have someone physically present with us, so I made the recording to support you and get as close to in person as we can. You can find that recording wherever you listen to this audio. The benefit of this exercise is that when the discomfort of the emotion has passed, you'll have a greater capacity for self-reflection and critical thinking. Essentially, the storm has passed and now you're ready to move into the next stage, investigating the mistake. Taking a look at the details of the mistake you've made can be challenging, especially when making a mistake held grave consequences in your childhood or if they were used against you in the past. But mistakes are normal. We all make them from time to time. When we take a deeper look, we have the opportunity to learn and become better decision makers. In this step, I invite you to investigate what happened, find out what caused the error, look at the impact of the mistake and what you can do differently now that you have better information. You may recognize this format from other areas in your life. In some fields, it's called a hot wash, or a post-mortem, or an after-action report. This is very similar. It's just on a personal scale. Sometimes reading about someone else's method can help you find your own process. So I've linked a few stories that I've written about times I've used this process and walked through the mistakes that I've made. You can find them linked in the transcript if you feel that reading about someone else's process with this would be helpful for you. Remember, none of this is about blame or beating yourself up. It's simply about getting the data you need to grow and do better next time. Once you've gathered your information, you're ready to move into the next step, course correcting. Course correcting is the step where adjustments and amends are made. I know you may still feel defensive or want to explain away your actions while you make amends, but know that that only prolongs the problem and often does more damage. In her work, Desiree Attaway discusses the importance of realizing that even though we don't intend to make mistakes, our actions still have an impact and still need repair. This is the step where you actually change the process you used, update your information, find a way to pay closer attention to the signals you missed, or make the apology that is needed to move forward. Without these action steps, everything else is just cognitive knowledge or good intentions. True growth happens when we're able to take what we've learned and put it into real, tangible action. So earlier I mentioned something that makes this whole process easier, and that's the skill of not beating yourself up every time you make a mistake. This skill is so important in decision-making because although hindsight is 20/20, you just can't know everything all the time, especially in the moment of making a decision. Spending time beating yourself up further erodes your confidence and your ability to try again. And trying again and again is what builds your skill and your trust in yourself. To recap, when you practice and develop the skills of being willing to feel the discomfort of making a mistake, investigating the root cause, and making adjustments, you give yourself a repeatable action plan that allows you to make decisions with greater ease and confidence. To help you integrate these concepts, I have some exercises for you. Let's talk through them so you have an overview. These exercises are designed to help you adopt the mindset of CEO over your career by helping you focus your energy and practice making independent decisions. As usual, I have worksheets available as a guide if that helps you, but I really want you to do the exercises in a way that works for you. Just make sure to capture your thoughts somewhere so you can refer to them in future weeks. The first exercise as CEO is to figure out what you have control over in your career and what you don't. As we've discussed, we have a lot of control over our lives, but not total control. When you're making career decisions, it's important to know where to focus your energy. For this exercise, I want you to create two categories. One is what you can control in your career, and the other is what's out of your control. For example, you may not control the pay ranges for your job, but you can negotiate your salary to ensure you're doing everything you can to be at the top of that pay range. In exercise number 2, as CEO, I want you to take the list of what you can control from exercise 1 and make a list of the long-term impact of each action, how long it will take you to complete, and the level of effort required from you. For example, penciling out how much money you need to live on can have a huge long-term impact. Let's assume it won't take you very long, but it may take a medium amount of effort. In exercise 3, you'll start setting your priorities. This is a very CEO type of activity. And remember, you don't have to get this perfect the first time. You can refine your decisions as you go. Looking at the list from exercise 2, I want you to circle the 3 areas that will have the biggest impact. Now decide if these are where you should focus your energy. Usually, it makes sense to work on the things with the biggest impact, but occasionally, starting with the things that take the least amount of effort or the least amount of time makes the most sense. Using what you know right now, decide on your 3 priorities and list them below. And just a word of caution, don't get lured into having too many priorities. 3 is the maximum usually recommended. Even if you need a lot of variety in your life, too many priorities can hurt your ability to gain traction in any one area. So for now, just pick 3 priorities and then go on to the next exercise. Exercise 4 will help you focus and reclaim your energy even further. I want you to make a list of all the activities in your life and decide which activities you can stop doing. The stop doing list is one of the most powerful pieces of advice I received in my years of leadership training. Often, we don't need to do more, we need to do less in order to focus on the things that will move us forward. I want you to look at your list and take stock of what isn't in your area of strength, what isn't bringing you satisfaction, and what isn't contributing to your future, doesn't help you find a better career, or anything else you can stop doing. Examples of this can be doing tasks that take a lot of effort but that nobody values, or doing overtime that you aren't getting paid for. Often, we go through the motions of our lives out of habit, so it's worth making sure that you're spending your time in ways that support your goals. And another word of caution here, I am absolutely not saying that every waking moment of your life has to be productive. Rest is necessary. Relaxation is important. If you are scrolling social media to relax, that is 100% okay in my book. In this exercise, you're just looking for activities in your life that are using up your energy but not providing anything in return. Those are the things that go on your stop doing list. So what can you stop doing at work? And what can you stop doing in your personal life? Before we wrap up, I want to touch on the mind traps I see that come up for people when they start adopting a leadership mindset. These are just ways that your brain is trying to conserve resources and keep you alive. As CEO of your career, you get to decide if these shortcuts work for you or they keep you stuck. Mind trap number 1 is I'm not a leader. Many of us have been taught to believe that leaders are special or out of reach somehow. Often we think about world leaders, school principals, or other prominent people that have formal titles. But the act of leadership is simply making decisions and taking action. You may not see yourself as a leader, but you are. You might only be leading yourself, but that still counts, and actually, personal leadership is the most important type of leadership there is. You may also hold a leadership role that you don't realize because it doesn't have a fancy title. Leadership starts within. Being a good leader has everything to do with your mindset and your character, and very little to do with a title someone granted you. It begins by recognizing you have the ability to affect change. You can make decisions and take action to make things happen. And if you don't see yourself as a leader quite yet, ask yourself this: where in my life do I make decisions and take action? Where in my life am I already leading myself or others? Mind trap number 2 are the words, I don't know. And it's one of the sneakiest of all mind traps out there because it seems legitimate. And I'm not talking about an occasional use of I don't know. All of us experience moments in our life where we just don't want to make a decision because we're overwhelmed from the day, we're hungry, or we're too tired to make a decision, or we legitimately don't have enough information to decide in that moment. And that's not what I'm talking about. Being in the right frame of mind is important. The problem is when answering "I don't know" becomes a habit. When we say it too often, we can start to believe it's true all the time, and it can erode our confidence. So let's take a look at why this happens. Making decisions, especially hard decisions, takes energy. It literally requires calories and glucose for you to make a choice. "I don't know" and its cousin "I don't care" can simply be ways for your brain to save energy. If you've gotten into the habit of saying "I don't know" when people ask you a question, do your best to catch yourself and investigate why you said that. Is it because you don't have enough information? If so, consider saying, "I need more information before I decide." This puts you in a position of power where you can take action. Or maybe you're tired or hungry. If that's true, consider replacing "I don't know" with things like "I need to sleep on this" or "let me grab a bite to eat first." Phrases like this address the real need you have and gives you practical steps to take, but doesn't keep the decision in limbo forever. Sometimes when you investigate why you're saying "I don't know," you realize that you're afraid of the consequences of your decision. If this is true, can you put a plan in place to address your concerns in case something goes wrong? If you're worried about making the wrong decision, your decisions don't have to be perfect. If you feel stuck, make the best decision you can right now and have a plan to course correct. In time, the phrase "I don't know" can actually become a signal for you. Just like coping behaviors, you can take "I don't know" as a sign that something needs attention. Mind trap number 3 is deciding my career for myself is selfish. I can appreciate this mind trap because we are interconnected to other people. Our careers, decisions, and actions do affect the people around us. But adopting the mindset of CEO of your career doesn't mean that you totally ignore everyone around you forever. You aren't adopting the mindset of a dictator, but that of a CEO, and healthy CEOs take many things into consideration, including how decisions impact other people. Taking the lead over your career simply encourages you to figure out what you want first. Deciding what you want gives you a solid foundation when you discuss your plans with the people around you. When you come to the table having done your own groundwork, you're more likely to make a decision that doesn't sacrifice your needs and desires, but works together with other people to find a solution that works for everyone. If you want to avoid resentment down the line, it's worth spending the time it takes to make a decision for yourself first and then negotiate with other people. Even though we've just scratched the surface about independent decisions and personal leadership, I think this is a good place to leave it for now. We'll continue to build on these principles in the upcoming weeks to make sure you feel prepared to choose your career. Developing these mindsets and skills is so much more important than just finding the next job that will keep you happy for a while. These principles will set you up to find the work that really feels meaningful to you and will also help you navigate your career path for years to come. So let's get you set up for the week with a clear plan of action. This week, as you do the exercises, I want you to focus on adopting the mindset of CEO of your career. Try on the idea that you're in charge of making the decisions and taking actions that create the results you want. I also recommend that you continue reading the quick morning emails to help you integrate what you're learning, do at least 1 minute of the breathing exercise every day, and if you use social media, check in with how you're using it. Make sure it's helping to inspire and propel you forward, which can include using it to take a break. Whatever you're doing, just be intentional. You can find all of the research and diagrams I've mentioned today in the transcript that's available for download anywhere you're listening to this. Next week, we're talking about how to use the innate navigational system you were born with. This is a super fun week. It's full of practical tools you can use to improve your personal decision-making ability, so you won't want to miss it. To close, I want to share a quote from Viktor Frankl, a psychologist and Holocaust survivor. He wrote in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, "When we can no longer change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Everything can be taken from a human but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. I'll talk to you next time.